looks like Blake Lively's team is doing double time because we have an intimacy coordinator that is now breaking her silence on the leaked footage of Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. We have a new episode of The Traitors that just dropped. We have a new Vanderpump Rules book that's coming out and a surprising new album from one of the top pop music stars that we'll get into as well. I have a very special guest on. We have a lot to discuss. Get ready. Let's get it. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's going on, guys? Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Happy, what? Oh, it's Friday. Happy Friday. I was like, what's today? Monday, Tuesday? Oh, it's Friday. We have a lot that we'll get into today, but I wanted to remind everybody we have a new episode of the Pop Report that's out right now. We're talking about Justin Bieber breakup rumors. We're talking about Michelle and Barack Obama divorce rumors. We're talking about Oscar nominations and some Traitors predictions. We'll get into this week's episode of the Traitors in just a bit, but be sure to check out an all-new episode of the Pop Report. It's out now. It's good. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, which is also where you can catch No Filter with Zack Peter. If you have not yet subscribed, definitely be sure to get subscribed, right? Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment if you're watching on Spotify or watching on YouTube, all the things, right? I see all the reviews coming in. I see Leslie Sloan, Blake Lively's publicist, is doing overtime with those mean 1-star reviews, calling me a misogynist and a woman hater. So she's the devil works hard, but Kris Jenner works harder, and Leslie Sloan works even harder, just like those harassment lawsuits that she's buried from Blake Lively's company. So that's a little nugget. Allegedly, they may be coming out at some point. Who knows? But we have a lot more Blake and Baldoni to talk about, and I was just on the Sarah Fraser podcast talking all about Blake and Baldoni amongst a number of other topics, but I figured it was time to bring her over to No Filter so that we can really have an unfiltered conversation. Please welcome to No Filter, the one and only Sarah Fraser.
Oh my God, Zack, you come out swinging, baby. All right.
Always. Always.
Woo, that was hot. Okay. All right.
How you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
Look, Russ Davis. I'm doing great. Russ Davis says you had me cracking up on the Pop Report. Guys, go tune into the Pop Report. Also, just wanted to remind everybody, for the month of January, all Zack Pack merch, I will be donating 50% of the proceeds to fire relief. I'll be donating it to the LA Fire Department. So if you want to support, you can get your Zack Pack merch at the link in the description below. 50% of the proceeds will be donated to fire relief.
Obsessed.
Sarah, I saw you were coming up on the charts with Meghan McCain on the podcast.
Oh, Meghan also comes in hot, comes out swinging. She's got a lot to say. Yes, I do too. I have, and you know this, she's a huge Bravo celebrity. So
loves Housewives.
Loves Housewives. I've been trying to get her on for a long time. And so she just happened to hit me up in October. You know, every once in a while I would just jump in her DMs and I'd be like, okay, I'd love to have you on. You and I share this love for reality TV. Anyhow, she just was on the podcast and everybody really loved it. She had tons to say, including, you know, people have a lot to say about this, but obviously President Trump has come after her father, her parents, very, you know, hard.
Yeah, strongly.
Very strongly, but he recently wrote her a note. She didn't exactly reveal what was in that note, but he hand wrote it and mailed it to her house. And so, you know, people have a lot of feelings on that, but yeah, she was great. Full circle talking about, and she's very obsessed right now with that curious case of Natalia Grace, you know,
yes,
the dwarf that no one knows is well, by the way, they did figure out that she was never lying about her age. But remember the movie The Orphan was like loosely based on her story. She's a Ukrainian adopted child. Like she was brought over here. She was supposed to be adopted. Then she went back into the foster care system. And this kid has had the wildest ride of parents that just have exploited her for money.
Crazy.
Right. Lied about her age.
Took her and then dumped her at like an apartment that they like let her like try to take care of herself on. Yeah. I remember watching there was like a docuseries about that and it's wild.
Wild. They just wrapped up part 3 of her docuseries on Discovery ID. So if you need a break from any Housewives, it's a really good deep dive. And I won't reveal the ending, but it does seem to be having a happy ending for her after a lot of drama.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, she deserves that. Yeah, I hope she
She
goes on
deserves that
to.
for sure.
She does. I mean, can you imagine her, the people that adopted her ended up they're the ones that lied on her age, said that they thought she was pretending to
Yeah,
be.
the mom said that she was trying to, like, harm her, like, that was
Yeah.
wild.
Yep. They said that she was trying to pretend that she was 8 years old when in fact she was 16. And then
Yeah.
to your point, they dumped her at an apartment when she was like 9 or 10 to live on her own.
Yeah, and she's a little
Crazy.
person, so just imagine a little person that's 9 years old that they just dump at some apartment building, and they did prepay for the rent, and they're just like, "Here, the rent's paid, figure it out, live on your own, you should be fine," and then they just dumped her.
Yeah, can you imagine? And then she was adopted by this family, the man's family,
Yeah.
and everyone thought they were going to be the saviors for her. They ran a church in Ohio and seems like everything was great. Well, not so great. They end up exploiting her as well for money. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I want obviously when we were on your podcast, we talked a lot about Blake and Baldoni. There have been a number of updates since then. Most notably, everybody's talking about Candace Owens because she just went on her Instagram stories talking about all of this, having an inside source and her own conjecture about this being spearheaded by Ryan Reynolds. And he's really the one that's behind all of this, which me and the three of us, me, you, and Donna Bowling are always, we have a group chat together. Like we're always texting and talking to each other. And Donna and I have discussed this theory prior to Candace Owens coming out with it, but it's kind of something that a lot of us have been speculating was, is Ryan Reynolds super controlling? Was he in this massive controlling relationship? So I want to go through what Candace posted on her stories. And then get your reaction and we'll discuss. But she had a lot to say about it. She posted a lot of stories, so I'll go through each of them and
Okay. Yeah.
we'll review. Yeah, she did like a whole. Okay, she said this was yesterday, so this was Thursday morning. No show today. We're working on a separate piece, but she has she's invested in the Baldoni Blake debacle. She says, yesterday I received a tip from someone who allegedly worked on the set of It Ends With Us. Lately, everyone is bashing Blake Lively, but apparently the true villain in this saga is Ryan Reynolds. This person is alleging that everything started when Ryan Reynolds decided to stroll onto the movie set one day and review the dailies. So the dailies are all the shots that were filmed for that day. This is an industry term. This is an industry term for all the footage that was filmed for that day. Thank you, Candace, for explaining that. I learned this 5 minutes ago. I learned it a couple weeks ago. You're behind, Candace. He then decided to take a look at the script, and between the two, something allegedly set him off. This
Mm.
person claims, and I cannot verify, that the production assistants then overheard Ryan and Blake having an argument in her trailer. Ryan Reynolds started being on the set on a regular basis as if he were her chaperone, and that is when he started inserting himself into the actual production, including writing lines. This is coming from an anonymous source. Now, we have heard that Ryan was
Mm.
present for a number of meetings between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, a lot of which were happening at Blake's New York City apartment. The next part is where the next part is what has been alleged via their lawsuits. Ryan and Blake, perhaps in response to her husband's anger, began inserting themselves into an effort to change lines and change scenes, but it gets better. It's clear Ryan was determined to humiliate and win against Justin Baldoni. He went so far as to include lines in his separate movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, about having an intimacy coordinator on set and making fun of Justin Baldoni's feminism and his podcast and his man bun. Let's not forget the man bun. This is what Justin's team is alleging. I looked at the evidence and I think it's undeniably true. Yeah, the nice pull stuff, it looked
Yeah.
pretty concrete. Also, this is not the first time Ryan Reynolds has used his character to humiliate someone he didn't like. More evidence on that later. But Ryan then allegedly presented an ultimatum to WME, the biggest talent agency in Hollywood, whose client roster include everyone from Taylor Swift to Justin Baldoni. So funny, WME represents Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. no longer represents Justin Baldoni because they dropped him. It's us or him, paraphrasing Ryan's alleged ultimatum to WME. So it was him, Blake Lively, and oh, did I mention our bestie Taylor Swift? Sort of a situation, allegedly. The source for this is a different source that would definitely know. I would imagine having Taylor Swift as your best friend and godmother to your children certainly helps in these sorts of situations. Here's what happened next. Guilty until proven innocent, and then she shows a screenshot of a Variety article claiming that Justin Baldoni was dropped by WME. Looks like Khaleesi's dragons won, until what Ryan Reynolds did not apparently account for was someone bigger or perhaps maybe just richer than Taylor Swift, who got unfairly dragged by his jealous bender. Wayfair Studios had effectively been instantly blackballed, persona non grata in Hollywood instantly, and truly they had done nothing wrong but cast a woman into their movie with an allegedly very jealous husband. My source says that Justin Baldoni is legitimately a good guy who truly wanted to do this project, but he cares deeply about women's issues. Wayfair Studios was meant to be a feel-good family studio. Wayfair Studios is backed by Steve Sorwitz, a super duper liberal billionaire who is at the point in his life where he just wants to do good in quotes. I'm sure he donates a ton of his a ton to causes that I hate, but whatever, not the point of the story. Those are Candace's words, not mine. How much
I
money are
love
we
it.
talking about? And then she shows a screen article. This city's newest billionaire doesn't plan to die. Paylocity founder Steve Sorowitz and his wife Jessica plan to give $1 billion to charity during their lifetimes and shutter the family foundation when they die. Wow. Same, Steve. Can't wait to casually give away $1 billion before I die, too. That's the goal. Anyway, Wayfair's Do Good Studios being blacklisted because Ryan Reynolds is acting fake and gay likely didn't sit well with them. Here is what I think likely happened. My opinion. Ryan Reynolds is grossly insecure. This is part motivated by the fact that he dates and married women that are at least over a decade younger than him. Correction, almost a decade younger than him. He met Scarlett Johansson when she was just 20. Ryan Reynolds was 28. When they got married and then divorced, she came very closely to saying that it didn't work out because of, well, his jealousy. Then she screenshots an article from Elle with Scarlett Johansson talking to Cosmo, talking about there being a competitive nature with actors dating. With all this information, when you reflect on just how much Ryan inserted himself into the film and the weird pattern of acting his personal frustrations out, the following clip is going to be really weird. Ryan did this to help promote It Ends With Us, and he brought in another A-lister, Hugh Jackman. And then she shares a clip where Ryan Reynolds is interviewing the actor that plays Atlas, which is Blake Lively's other love interest outside of
Yes.
Justin Baldoni in the film. That was really awkward, and people did wonder at the time, why is Ryan Reynolds doing this skit with one of the actors to promote the film that he's not even in and has no ties to? She continues, we're almost done. Imagine being Justin Baldoni in the midst of all the drama that we now know is happening behind the scenes. Blake's husband decides to then create a funny skit with another one of his A-list buddies to promote your film. As I said, this was about humiliation. Ryan Reynolds has been accused of this sort of, shall we call it, character abuse in the past. In other words, he pretends he's acting, but he's not really acting at all. Let's take a look at what a Deadpool actor had to say about him. And then there's a clip from TJ Miller. I guess this is from TJ Miller's podcast with Adam Carolla, and TJ Miller starred in Deadpool, talks about a scene where he says that Ryan Reynolds, there was a lot of, I guess, improvising and riffing that happened on the set of Deadpool. And there was a scene where Ryan Reynolds in character tried to essentially belittle TJ Miller, who also was a character in Deadpool. And so TJ Miller talks about never wanting to work with Ryan Reynolds again after being humiliated on set.
I remember this. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, final thoughts. I think Ryan Reynolds is unhinged. I think Blake Lively was fine with everything in the movie she signed on for, hence requesting an intimacy coordinator. And then all that changed the day her husband showed up on set and allegedly blew a fuse. Ryan maybe sensed real chemistry between them on camera when he reviewed the dailies and felt insecure because, well, Ryan himself tends to fall in love on set. I know how he met Scarlett Johansson and Blake. So he tried to peacock Justin Baldoni, who is objectively more attractive than Ryan, by injecting himself into every layer of the movie, from the script to the promos, and reminding Justin who the A-lister is. This is why Ryan was there every step of the way, and I sensed that it was him that demanded Justin be put in the basement for the premiere. Blake, in my opinion, was not discomforted by Justin, but by her own husband, and she had to pretend to see things his way. This situation is now spiraled out of control, and at the center of it is a small man, Ryan Reynolds, with a fragile ego. Feels appropriate to end this by saying, "You know you love me, XOXO Gossip Girl." Also, in case you haven't seen the Wolverine and Deadpool scene where Ryan takes a stab at Justin Baldoni, here you are. To note, in Blake Lively's complaint, which we should maybe start referring to as Ryan's complaint, she mentions that Justin made a comment to her trainer about her postpartum weight. Then he shares the clips from Deadpool and Wolverine. She says if you have any other tips, send them to her. I mean, listen, good for her. And then it continues. Tim Miller, like Justin Baldoni, was a director on a film called Deadpool. It was the original Deadpool film in which Ryan Reynolds was cast as the lead and given a producer credit. You'll never guess what happened. Despite Miller's significant contribution to Deadpool's success, he left the franchise due to creative differences with Ryan Reynolds, who played the lead role and produced the movie. According to him, the actor wanted control of the franchise. Yep, our neighborhood psychopath pushed him out of the movie. It's Ryan. He's the villain. I'm suddenly so nervous for Blake. This is like a clinical pattern of behavior. Then there's another article. Ryan
Mm.
Reynolds reportedly wants to buy out Justin Baldoni from It Ends With Us at any cost. I remember this coming out last summer. Ladies, please know that if your man is showing up at work with his A-list homies trying to buy the company you work for while starting fights with your boss, that is not the definition of love. There's nothing romantic about controlling abuse. And that's everything that Candace Owens has to say. I don't get why
Candace.
everybody's. I mean, I listen. I love that Candace is coming out and she's like, "Yeah, these are my thoughts." But I'm also like, Donna and I, and we haven't talked about it much. But last night we were both kind of like watching this because everyone kept sending it to us, and I'm like, this is literally everything Donna and I have been saying and covering for the last 2 weeks, like to the T. The speculation, the interview clips, the nice pull, the TJ Miller, the controlling Ryan Reynolds. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan was the one spearheading everything, but also let's not negate that the real reason Blake Lively's reputation took a hit last summer is because of her own bad
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, the awkward promotion. But wait a minute, back up. Okay, so do you believe everything that Candace says? And then do you think that ultimately Ryan Reynolds, it really just is about control that he wants to take? Because I keep thinking there has to be a financial reason for this, that they want the rights to further books by Colleen Hoover, or I don't know, or do we think that Ryan Reynolds is so delusional and just jealous and wants that level of control, wants to kind of destroy careers if you
Yeah.
go against him? Because I have worked with people like that.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things, right? I think he felt threatened by Baldoni and Blake's relationship. He obviously saw the chemistry, and I think and I this has been my theory from the beginning because he was with Scarlett Johansson when he met Blake Lively on the set of the Green Lantern. They were both in relationships. Suddenly, after production wraps on
Yeah.
the Green Lantern, they exit those relationships and then start officially dating each other publicly. So, I think they're two bad peas in a pod, but I do believe that Ryan Reynolds is very controlling. I also think that Blake Lively is just somebody that comes from privilege and, she's just a bratty mean girl, which we've known and heard rumors about for years and years and years, dating back to Gossip Girl. We heard about, her apparently having issues with America Ferrera on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yeah.
What's the other the girl from Gossip Girl? Meetin with
Oh, Leighton
Lexington.
Meester?
Leighton Meester, yes. Issues with her, issues with Anna Kendrick on the set of A Simple Favor. So Blake has a history of not being easy to work with. And then I think you add the layer of Ryan Reynolds being controlling and powerful. I think Blake
Yeah.
flexed that muscle knowing that she had Ryan Reynolds in her backcourt. And they also, used Taylor Swift as well.
Mm. Okay, where are you at? Look, certainly this is going to keep going, right? And to me, this is better than television right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am living for an update. But so far, it's just so swayed in Justin Baldoni's favor, right? I mean, court of public opinion, the videos that they're dropping. Do you think the gag order will be granted?
I think that Baldoni's team is going to fight very hard to be like, listen, not only
Yeah.
do we have proof that they were planting stories, Leslie Sloan and her Vision PR team, but they also claim that or not even claim, but we know that they leaked this to the New York Times by giving the New York Times the complaint, which normally would be a confidential complaint in the state of California, but they had that copy and then provided the text messages to the New York Times. So I think Baldoni's team is going to argue, well, they made this public. They aired this
Yeah.
all out. All we're doing is playing their same game. They can't be now upset that, we just happen to be winning the game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but Blake's like, no, 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 no. I'm Khaleesi. Listen to me. I'm Khaleesi.
Here are my dragons.
Here are my dragons.
Do we see any resolution? Do you think that this is going to put pressure on Ryan and Blake? Like, I really want to know their internal conversation.
I'm sure Ryan Reynolds is spiraling.
I
He's
know.
fired up and he's pissed that this is not going the way that he wants it to go. And listen, you know that they're working overtime. So this article came out yesterday evening. Okay. This came out in the Daily Mail. Hollywood intimacy coordinator speaks out on that Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni video from It Ends With Us. Now, what was your reaction when you saw the video of the leaked footage that Baldoni provided that showed the actual encounter that she claimed was harassment?
Okay, at first glance, all looks well, right? I mean, they both look like they're having fun. It's like they're talking, they're improvising. And by the way, can you answer this for me? Because you're like far more of a detailed researcher than I am. They were shooting B-roll, right? Like they were shooting, like trying to get B-roll for this scene, like trying to get a different angle, or no, because he yells cut at the end and seems to almost kind of be annoyed at the ending. So what was that footage really being used for? Do we know?
So it was for a dance montage. So there wasn't supposed to be any audio that was being recorded, which is why we see in Blake's complaint, she says no audio was recorded because no audio needed to be recorded because it was a silent scene. Only to then realize Baldoni said, actually, surprise, checkmate, XOXO Gossip Girl, Baldoni was wearing a mic the entire time. So we have all of the raw audio from that. And so what it was, but the crazy part was, so they released the full unedited take and they took 3 different takes of this shot. And so it was really just to be a slow dancing dance montage to show the dynamic. Because some people are like, I saw the footage and Blake did look a little uncomfortable, or she looked like she wasn't fully into him. And I was like, well, if you watch the movie and you know the story, this specific scene was before they officially started dating. So this is when they're falling in love. And Ryle is pursuing Lily, and Lily's kind of playing coy. And she's not really, she's like, do I like him? She's kind of playing hard to get. So you even hear them instruct her when he leans in to kiss, make sure you turn around, to kind of, reject him because you're playing hard to get, essentially.
Yeah. Look, I don't think that alone proves anything. I will, like, when I watch it, I do feel as though I'm like, this is why I could never act, because I don't think I could sit there and improvise with someone like that and like pretend. It's so weird for me to look at, but it doesn't. I mean, I will say, you don't think she looked uncomfortable at all, do you? But I have to say, I do feel a little bit. She seemed a little like not as into it as he does, but he seemed very in.
Have you seen the movie?
Yes.
So, but this is the beginning part where he's
Right.
pursuing her, and she is kind of not really she's into him, but I think her character hasn't fully accepted that she's developed feelings for him.
Yeah. No,
So
I
this
get
is
what you're saying. Like maybe that's where her mindset was, right? To your point, because they're shooting those scenes. So you're right. She's not going to be like totally into him. She is going to be like playing coy. I think that's a great point. I think that's amazing context, because I can see how her team, I think, right? They did have a brilliant response to that. And they're like, thank you for releasing this. Actually, this proves our point. Look at her, like, seeming uncomfortable. So then when you read their response, you're like, and you watch it, you're like, oh, well, she is sort of pulling back a little bit. But then the moment he yells cut, like he seems like he's the hell out of there. Yeah, he's like the hell out of there. So I'm like, okay, this man is really method. Right? He's really in, he's really Ryle. He's really trying to, that's part of the manipulation of his character. So it is on its own, like that clip, brilliant, brilliant by Baldoni's team, brilliant response by hers, because you're like, okay, I get what they're saying. But so far, I mean, I'm team Justin Baldoni on this so far because where I don't see anything really backing up Blake's claim. And I think the most damning thing is Blake Lively did not sit down herself for that New York Times article. She was not on record, which to me is
No.
like very, if you have as much power as a woman in Hollywood that you do, and here you are, you're taking this bold action. Aren't you going to sit for the New York Times and go, you know what, I have got to expose this man and Wayfarer, what
No,
they have
because
done?
I think the reason she didn't go on record with the New York Times is because they wanted to make it look like the complaint was leaked. But it's very obviously not leaked because that's a confidential,
Right.
filing that they wouldn't have obtained access to. And then the New York Times even claims we had a number of correspondence, like thousands of pages and pages of correspondence between Blake and Ryan that we reviewed and his team that we reviewed that,
Yeah.
just
That back what the New York Times posted or wrote. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
I'm the scene to me, I'm neutral on for that one. I think the other text messages, I think that one about her comparing herself to Khaleesi is the most asshole, like throwing your weight around, veiled threat you've ever seen in your life. I mean,
mhm,
she's basically saying, yeah, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift are able to destroy villages, basically. So,
yeah,
don't screw with me. And if you stay with me, in fact, you'll have the protection of my dragon. That right there
yeah,
is like reverse intimidation, period. I
yeah.
mean, so like I said, that scene to me when I watch it, although I love your context, I'm like, tit for tat on that one. And otherwise, Baldoni's,
I don't think it proves anything that she's claiming,
I
especially
agree.
because
I
her
agree.
claims continue to lack context, right? She says he sniffed my neck and said that it smells good. And then we see the clip and we see him saying it smells good is in response to her saying, I'm getting my spray tan on you. And he's like, don't worry about it. It smells good. Not, oh, you smell so good. Like smelling her hair. He's literally we have camera and mic. Like, why would he intentionally do that, knowing that there's a room full of people, knowing that this is on footage? Like, it just seems, you know,
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
egregious claim. But so this is what the intimacy coordinator, not the official one that worked on the set. This person did not work on
Okay.
this movie, but is a separate intimacy coordinator that decided to give this exclusive to the Daily Mail, which leads me to believe that this was intentionally planted by
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
Leslie Sloan.
I mean, this is like you and me commenting on the inner workings of another
Yeah.
podcast. It's like, of course, yeah, we know what it takes to edit. We know behind the scenes, but were
Yeah.
we there? No.
Yeah.
Right.
So it says a Hollywood intimacy coordinator has weighed in on the bombshell video of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni amid their lawsuits. The explosive video, exclusively released by the Daily Mail, shows 3 takes of a dance scene with Lively and Baldoni, revealing the pair were on apparent great terms before the actress accused him of sexual harassment. Also, if you look at their text message thread that they released, you can see that they were texting shortly after this scene where she was praising his work. So again, if you were truly uncomfortable with him, why would you then text him afterwards and praise him?
I could sorry, I was blowing my nose. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So here it says Lively in turn. Okay, so they were on great terms. So Lively in turn hit back with the clip's release, saying that it proved that she was uncomfortable during the scene. Mia Shatter, who did not
Mhm.
work on It Ends With Us, but has worked on a number of other projects, said that she believes it proves that Baldoni did make Lively feel uncomfortable. But also, the bigger question comes down to there's a difference between feeling uncomfortable and being harassed. When asked, Daily Mail says, when asked what stood out to her about this scene, she said the first thing is that he is trying to kiss her and they clearly haven't discussed that ahead of time. And she keeps pulling away and clearly doesn't want to do that. Now, how are you commenting as an expert about what Blake wants or doesn't want and what was discussed and wasn't discussed if you did not work on the project?
I could, okay, again, great point. I think we're seeing like you knew Blake, they were going to have some strategy because Brian Friedman, I mean, and is Brian Friedman like not a genius? I mean, this man's house burned flat in the Palisades, and this guy has had time to like, plan a strategy. I mean, take over here and like start a war. I mean, well, not start it, but finish it. So couldn't agree more. Feel like this has to be a plant because the article is quite
Yeah.
damning from this intimacy coordinator who, to your point, was not on set. It's
Yeah.
quite like they're going through point for point all the moments they feel that Blake is pulling back,
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Keep going.
But it's just like, to me, it's the, she keeps pulling away and clearly doesn't want to do
Yeah.
that. Like, to me, the quotes are so, like, there's so much conviction behind them. And I'm like, there's a lot of conviction given you did not work on this project. You're viewing the same, footage that we're all viewing. And so it's weird. But she continues by saying, there was no kissing written into the scene. But this is the other frustrating part because I see that. Well, let me finish this, and I'll give
Okay.
my
Yeah.
commentary.
Keep going.
No kissing was written into the scene. Lily and Ryle slow dance in the bar. Patrons around them drinking and watching sports completely in their own world. That's what the script says. Shatter said if an intimacy coordinator had been present, they would have stopped any kissing. That's not necessarily true. Shatner said that his alleged failure to communicate that this was pretty damning, both as an actor and a director. She doesn't think that either of them is lying. I think they're both talking from their own experience. They are strongly disagreeing about things like professionalism, etiquette, what's appropriate, what's not, and what it means to be an actor. Quizzed on the power dynamic between Lively and Baldoni, Shatter said, even though she's Blake Lively and can say no and isn't going to be fired for speaking her mind the way that somebody else might fear, she still has to keep working with him and keep the peace and play nice. Well, we obviously know she doesn't keep the peace and she doesn't play nice.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's not her typical, standard behavior. So someone that's such an expert on what was going on here clearly didn't research the dynamic of their situation. She added that she can see Blake appeasing him and trying to smile on her face, and that was murky as to who is truly in charge. Well, here's the thing. As actors, if there's no dialogue in the scene and it's a silent scene, then the only way for you to act out your role without dialogue is through body language. So when you see her kind of like playing coy, it makes sense with the context of that scene, you know?
Couldn't. Yes, I love that point. And I will say this: did you feel after watching that scene? I almost felt because there was this whole thing of did they catch feelings, right? Your amazing take when you were on my podcast, but it was interesting when I watched that clip. I actually almost thought they didn't catch feelings. Because they didn't seem like I said he was so out. When
Yeah.
the scene ended, he was like so done, and she just seemed, to your point, very smug. Like, Ryan and I can't stop talking. And I'm
Yeah.
dealing with a sociopath. You like to look into your wife's eyes. Like, I mean, so it was interesting because I actually walked away from that clip going, oh, I don't think they caught feelings. I think there's more jealousy there. And by the way,
Yeah.
also Blake Lively had no problem promoting this film the way that she wanted and did not respond, apologize, or change course of action the way that she
Correct.
promoted it when people were like, wait a minute, why are you promoting your Buzz drinks and your new hair care line and encouraging everyone wear your florals? And none of that changed despite public backlash. So I agree. This woman, Blake, has no problem basically speaking up. And she had no problem coming on to a set where she wasn't the director, she wasn't
Yeah.
the writer. And she felt very comfortable texting him notes. And by the way, I took my liberties. And Ryan says I should
Not just
really
notes, paragraphs. Paragraphs
paragraph.
is what she would text him. And mind you, the third take, if you watch the full 9 to 10 minute clip or video that was released by the Daily Mail, if you watch the final take of this scene, you hear her directing people, or directing the producers, the cameraman, because the last shot is a shot of their feet, and then the camera pans up at the end to show them, full body. And she says, and she has her Louboutins that they're shooting, and she says, make sure you get the heel because the heel is sparkly. I want the sparkles in it. So she has no problem speaking her mind and vocalizing what she wants or how she wants a scene shot.
Wait, did you watch that clip and think they still had chemistry, as much chemistry, and were in love, or how'd you feel?
I think like it's hard because it's like yes, they clearly do have chemistry, but the part for me that's torn is it's like, but is this chemistry between Blake and Baldoni, or is this chemistry between Ryle and Lily? Because they are actors playing people that are supposed to have chemistry and are falling in love with each other.
And Zach, have you, in your research, has there been anybody else come out of the woodwork about Baldoni's behavior?
No.
Obviously, on Jane the Virgin. Okay.
If
See, for
anything,
me,
the only people that have reached out, because I've had people reach out to me privately and anonymously, and the only people that have reached out to me, even from the set of Jane the Virgin, nobody has anything negative to say about Justin Baldoni and people that have
wow.
worked with Blake Lively. That's how I found out that apparently this is all alleged, and this is from, somebody that has reached out to me. Apparently, there are harassment lawsuits that were filed against her company. I don't know the status of those or how far they went, but apparently, allegedly, her PR team, which was spearheaded by Leslie Sloan, has squashed those, whether those were paid in settlements. I don't know how, we
Hmm.
scrubbed those, but apparently at some point, people were filing harassment lawsuits against Blake Lively. And I don't know the status of whatever happened to those.
Very interesting. A little bit with Baldoni, I feel as though, have you ever worked with someone where they're very demanding and you begin to give a little because you want to accommodate them, and then before you know it, they have just taken advantage of that kindness, and that, to me, like, I feel like he was thrilled to have such a big A-list actress, although people
Yeah.
debate if she's really A-list. But anyhow, such a big name, and I feel like he gave in and gave in to the point of, I think when they realized they were in trouble, it was too late.
Yeah.
And then, now they've got this monster on set who believes, I mean, just, I don't operate like that. The way she was like, I will rewrite scenes for free. And, Ryan tells me I should be getting much more money. I don't even need credit though. I'm just so good at it. And, so I just feel like I need to share my writings with you. And Ryan has no problem going on the set and rewrite. The audacity to me is like, would you ever go on to a major movie set and be like,
No.
you know what? I've taken it upon myself to rewrite the opening. I know this is your baby, but I'm here to,
Yeah.
what? Like, can you imagine somebody coming on Zack Peter? Well, actually, we both had
No.
this happen. So someone has come to our podcast and tried to rewrite the show.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like the audacity.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it really is a lot of audacity, but then you think of like how, they are flexing the power that they believe that they have. And I think they did
Mm,
have power and they had power until social media came forth and broke that. I think social media has completely changed the game. Podcasting, YouTube, TikTok, like all of that, people
yeah.
like us no longer allow these Hollywood bullies to stay on top because we have access to people and we have direct access to people rather than them using their media tactics and their PR strategies to try and manipulate the public. And people have now become so savvy now that we have all of the information in the palm of our hands through our phones.
Yeah, and like what's happening with you, right? Like, you're one of the people that's on the forefront of this story. You also have people now that can reach out to you direct, where years ago,
Yeah.
you were trying to reach out to a news reporter, and now you've got people that have inside information telling you what's really going on. Here's my other question to you though. Where do you think, so obviously Ryan Reynolds and their team must have known that Steve Sarowitz, the billionaire that is funding Wayfarer Productions, they obviously had to have known that. Do you think that they just don't care? Like, do you think with Ryan Reynolds, because he also has $500 million, it's not even really about money. They just know they can go toe for toe money wise. And it's just so much about his ego and control and potentially the further rights to Hoover's books.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sorowitz is very wealthy, and if he's trying to just donate $1 billion just for the fun of it, like that's somebody that has nothing to lose, right? And that's I think that was dumb of them to even name him in their lawsuit because if they know that he's so wealthy, then what made them think that he wasn't going to fight back? And so it's not just Justin Baldoni's career that they were ruining. It's Jamie Heath, it's Steve Sorowitz, it's Jennifer Abel, it's Melissa Nathan, all the people that they named that they kind of attacked them, and their careers, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Um, But I think at some point, like Blake's gonna have to buckle. Like Ryan's ego and Blake's ego, like they're just gonna have to take the hit because it's not. And listen, they know that it's not going in their favor because we're now seeing these clearly planted stories with this intimacy coordinator that has no clue what the case is, that has no
Mm,
clue. It's obvious she doesn't even know the story of It Ends With Us, or at least that's the impression that's being given in her commentary of it. So if you need to plant stories like this, if you need to request a gag order from the judge, if you need to, leak the initial complaint that's not an official lawsuit to the New York Times, like if like these are all media tactics that I know I've become savvy to because I've been in this world for so long that I can spot it from a mile away. That like to me, I'm like, these are the tactics that you use for someone that is trying to stay in control of the narrative because they know they're losing it.
mm. Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. I think behind the scenes, they have to be crapping their pants. I don't think they thought this was the way it was going to go
No,
whatsoever. And I love someone in your comments was saying something about, narcissists just don't even think clear. They don't care,
no,
and I think you probably are looking at two of huge narcissists in Hollywood. So,
it's
and
blind ego.
it's blind ego for sure. It will
And
be
I
very interesting though to see what happens. Like, does she care about her businesses? Because she reported that the businesses are not doing well. The hair care
Yeah.
line is not going well. The Buzz products, drink products are not going well. Do those, I mean, do those take a further hit? Like, do they close shop? Because they must have other investors. Very
They
interesting.
they need to buckle and stay low for a minute because the
Mm,
reality is, I mean, her businesses, I don't think were ever going to be wildly successful. Like, she's not a likable person that people are like, I want to go. And nor does she have like amazing hair. Like, like at least J Lo, who's not likable, like she has beautiful skin. So when she releases a skincare line, like people are like, yeah, I want to look like I want the J Lo glow. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Where there's nothing aspirate. Like nobody's like, yes, I want Blake Lively's hair. Or I want, I trust Blake Lively, really put love into this hair care line that I, really believe in it. Like just nobody's buying that. So I think they just need to let this go because otherwise, the further they push this, the more and more their reputation takes a hit. And I also think that, the more their likability drops, like at the end of the day, you know this as well as I do. These companies are not loyal to talent. They're loyal to numbers. And if you can't bring numbers, if you can't fill the theater, if you can't sell the product, if you can't
Mm.
sell the movie, you're not valuable to them anymore and they'll cut you.
I feel like it won't. I just don't think it's going to damage Ryan Reynolds because I think he has such a different audience than she does. For her, I think it's so bad. And there's a part of me that I actually want her to be telling the truth. I want her to win because I just feel like when you're a woman and you come forward and allege sexual harassment and allege a scheme to destroy your reputation, you're carrying the weight of a lot of other women who don't have your money, power, and backing. And so it's
Mhm.
like, I hope to God she's telling the truth because it's really going to impact a lot of other women that may not be so brave in coming forward, knowing that she basically, lied and was like full of bullshit on this. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know. Part of me feels like they will just go all the way because they're so narcissistic,
Ego
but
driven. Yeah.
I don't know. Then again, I feel like as we get into the Diddy trial, if something bigger comes, like if that takes over, then they quietly like settle with Baldoni, they bow out. As you know, with settlements, lots of times people can make these amicable statements. We saw it with like Dr. Luke and Kesha, where they're sort of vague, and everybody has to part their own ways. And Baldoni and Wayfair are probably going to get a big check.
As they should. If this is really
Abs-
not true, then they absolutely. But the hard part is there are so many people that already, you know, believe this, and
Mm.
his reputation has already kind of taken a hit. Wow, we have 5,000 watching live right now, guys. Hit the like button if you are enjoying this episode, and definitely support Sarah Fraser of the Sarah Fraser Show. I was just on her podcast last week or the week before,
Yes,
so
which
definitely
everybody
go tune in.
loved. Loved, loved,
Yay!
loved. Felt like they learned a lot of new things about you.
Yeah.
I know they were like, "Oh, I see a different side of Zach." I was like, "Okay, well,
They don't
great."
hate me
That's
as much. They see that I'm human.
they don't hate Right?
Um,
Well, but give it a week. They'll hate us again. Don't worry.
yeah. All right, guys, we'll hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this, drop a comment below. Okay, let's shift gears and let's talk about Traitors. Are you watching the new season of Traitors?
Okay, I was hoping you were going to talk Scheana Shay because Traitors is the one thing I'm not up on at all.
Okay. So Traitors is good. I'm going to give you some spoilers.
Okay, go for it.
So Traitors is really good. We have the 5th episode that just dropped. Dylan Efron, Zack Efron's brother, surprisingly very good. I like him. He's a very likable Efron brother. The Traitors suck. I'm going to say that. They're all very bad. And now we're seeing that all of the Traitors have started to turn on each other. So they're all going after each other rather than trying to stay in the game so that they stay afloat and off the radar of the faithful. They're all starting to try to eliminate each other, which is only just going to cause more chaos and ultimately what's going to probably blow up the Traitors game altogether. We do see that the latest Traitors kill is Robin Dixon from Real Housewives of Potomac. So we had 4 housewives coming into this era. We had Robin, we had Dolores, we had Chanel Ayan from Dubai, and we had Dorinda Medley. And so far they killed off Dorinda, they killed off Chanel, and they have now killed off Robin. So there's only one housewife left in the mix.
Robin.
And that's Robin Dixon. So Robin was killed off by the Traitors, and then banished was Nikki Garcia from the
Bella
Artem, the
twins.
Artem divorce. Yeah, Bella
Yeah.
twins. So it was a good episode. It's kind of a chaotic hot mess. The Traitors are all over the place and the faithful are all over the place. And it's just one big hot mess express.
Okay, because obviously season 2 was so good and people were so into it. Are you still feeling the show the way people were reacting to it season 2?
It's not as good as season 2. It's a good season, but I wouldn't say it's as good as season 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's see. There are some super chats in the live. J Band says, In Touch Weekly just reported that Ryan Reynolds is demanding access to Justin Baldoni's phone to review his text messages. Hope I misread that. Okay, I have the article right here. It says Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds demand Baldoni preserve text messages about them. Okay, so we saw that Baldoni sent a demand letter to Disney and Marvel saying better keep all the original files in regards to Nice Poll because we're going to review it all. So In Touch claims that they had obtained a cease and desist dated December 20th. Oh, so this is old. Dated December 20th, which Blake and Ryan sent to Justin and his production partner, Jamie Heath, and their crisis PR team. The letter was submitted in court as part of Blake's harassment suit against Baldoni. She accused the two of them of inappropriate behavior on set. She created a list of demands. So I guess they're just saying we want to see all the text messages, like save all the text messages because we want them to be brought out in court. Not that groundbreaking. Pretty standard when you're
I
going
was
through
going
the
to say
discovery process.
seems pretty standard.
AV says Blake and Ryan are discussing elitist bullies. And then just south of history says, what if Blake's PR team leaked the insider info to Candace to help Blake by painting her as a victim because they knew Ryan's target market doesn't care about this? Okay, well, that's a really good point that you brought up, Sarah, is you said that you don't think his audience is going to turn on him. And that's a really good point because when it comes to the numbers and whether or not he's still going to be marketable, most of his audience are the Marvel bros, right? Like they're the ones that they don't care about this. Yeah. Don't give a shit about any of this.
No, my husband is in his early 40s. He loves Deadpool. He loves Marvel. He has no clue. He watched I actually liked It Ends With Us. It was cheesy. The ending
It was cheesy, but I didn't think it was bad.
Me neither. I loved it. I was like so sucked in the first 50 minutes. The last scene is infuriating because like you'd tell an abuser holding like a day-old baby that you want to divorce, like this is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But my husband watched it, hated it, thought it was the cheesiest, stupidest thing you've ever laid your eyes on, but like is obsessed with Marvel. So he's not even following this Blake Lively. He doesn't care. He's going to continue to watch Ryan Reynolds stuff. Yeah. That's a fascinating comment. That's a very fascinating comment because I don't look at Brad Pitt, right? For what what we're finding out about this divorce. And I mean, and look, I love Brad Pitt, despite do I think he was drunk on a private jet and probably hit Angelina and one of their kids? Yeah, yeah, probably happened. But
Yeah.
this man went on to do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, he's still beloved. He hasn't
Yeah.
missed a beat. It's sad he doesn't seem to have a relationship with his children, but I think Reynolds, like Reynolds, no matter what the outcome is not going to be impacted. But for her, yeah, that's a great theory.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to take now thinking that through and saying that out loud. I don't think his career will take much of a hit because again, as long as you can still drive those numbers, people will
Oh,
still, the studios and the agencies will still work with you and his audience, they're still going to watch his Marvel movies. And if anything, he'll
100%.
probably start to put Blake in his movies. That way she can at least one, stay relevant and two, get a paycheck.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's talk Scheana Shay's book because Scheana Shay is writing a new book that's coming out this summer. Are you
I'm ready for
excited
this
about?
tell-all. Yeah, look, I mean, and I've admitted this. I became a VPR fan through Scandival, and then I really got into the show. Before that, I was like a passive watcher, much more of a housewives gal. But I'm actually curious about this book because she's going to name names. My Good Side is the title, and of course, she doesn't say who's going to have the biggest, craziest reaction to this, but
Yeah.
she kind of sounds like she's going to go through everybody person by person and speak her truth.
So this is the description from Amazon. An intimate memoir from Vanderpump Rules star Scheana Shay delving into everything from the origin story of the iconic show to her struggles with fertility and pregnancy loss and all the hilarious and heart-wrenching moments that were left on the cutting room floor. Before 11 seasons of the record-breaking TV, 2 Emmy nominations and chart-topping podcast shenanigans, Sheena thought signing on to the Real Housewives spinoff of Vanderpump Rules was a stepping stone to reaching her ultimate goal of becoming a successful actress in Hollywood. She aspired to be Blake Lively. After appearing on shows like 90210, Jonas, and Victorious, Vanderpump Rules would be a piece of cake. But from the very first season, Sheena clashed with fellow cast members. Barbs were thrown, friendships dissolved, and Sheena was left in the rubble trying to navigate the complexities of having her life and relationships filmed for a television audience. On camera, she got used to being called every name in the book, from home-wrecking whore to pick me and bad friend. But off camera, there's always been a different side of Sheena. Pieces of her that didn't make it into the final edit of the tidy 40-minute television episodes. In My Good Side, Sheena pulls back the layers of who she really is and shares all the sides of her, the good, the bad, and the messy, bringing readers on a wild nostalgia trip through the early days of Vanderpump Rules while recounting jaw-dropping stories from her Hollywood Black Book, including setting the record straight on her relationship with Eddie Cibrian. She reveals how her outlook on love has evolved and led her to a daughter she was told she may never have. From being bullied as a kid to being bullied by the witches of WeHo, Sheena has seen it all, and together, she and her fans can laugh, cry, and reminisce on all the drama, heartbreak, and celebrations over the years.
Mm.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I'll be curious about it. She probably wasn't I am a big Lala fan. I do enjoy my
What?
Lala. I am. Are
How
you not a
dare
Lala
you?
fan?
I
I know
love
what.
Lala. Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
okay.
I got
I
so
know
much
she's
shit for
hated by
defending
everyone.
Lala. I always thought Lala was very spot on with Ariana this past season.
I like Sheena though. I think the book will be good. Good for her. Love that she always wanted to write. And yeah, I think it will be. First of all, I think it's smart because she'll probably be first to market from that cast with a book, unless we
Mhm.
have any surprises. So that right there, genius. She's going to capitalize on that. Now, of course, Lala has a popular podcast, so does Sheena. So they reveal some, but I think it will be very good. And she does have a lot of story to tell.
Yeah. The book comes out on July 22nd. I like Sheena. I'll order it. I'll support her. I'll probably have her on the podcast to promote
Yeah.
the book. Yeah, I mean, I know people don't like Sheena, and Sheena and Lala were definitely taking a lot of heat, but I don't know. I
I
just
mean,
think why not? Like, let her live her life.
what's your take, by the way? Is something about her sandwich shop getting a spin-off, do we think?
I don't think so. I know that there were cameras that were spotted at something about her. So either that's going to be like something for the spinoff, they're going to like film something there, or it's going to be like an E News special. They always do those like or remember when Vice did it and they had Vicky on and she was
Yeah,
talking about the old days of Orange County. I think it's some sort of like docuseries. Like there's something that's filming there. I don't know what it is, but I don't think they're getting a spinoff. Who
I
wants to
don't know.
watch a spinoff of the fucking sandwich shop? Like who? Nobody's asking for that. And any loser that's like, yeah, I would love to see the sandwich. Shut up. You're lying to yourself. That would be the most boring show ever. Like Katie and Ariana already did not have a personality to begin with on this show. And like nobody wants to watch that. And they're not even there. How often is Ariana at the sandwich shop?
Never. Katie, I think, is there weekly. I think this is Katie's job, actually, now.
Wow, Katie's there weekly. It's her sandwich shop. She should be there every day bussing tables.
Ah! That's what Anne told me. Anne, from
Oh,
Something About
and
Her. Anne, our
yeah.
girl Anne. Anne says Katie's there all the time. I think this is Katie's actual job now.
Well, yeah, she
Making
doesn't have another
making this
job.
making the sandwiches. So
Wow.
that's what I hear. And they, you can go get a photo daily. I got to go back and get my sandwich. I was robbed on
I mean,
opening day. So
I just like what like the novelty must be wearing off. Like I don't think there's a line outside of Something About Her anymore.
I can't imagine. The only thought I thought, but I don't think they're going to mix the two waters. Is they're obviously shooting a new Vanderpump Rules pilot with a lot of the people at Sir. Our friend Peter Madrigal says he knows the entire cast of this reboot. I don't know. Did they pop over to the sandwich shop? Did they film a scene there? Not sure. I don't think they're going to want. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to want to associate one with the other.
No, I think they're gonna want a clean, fresh start. I mean, look at like
Mm,
Roni. That reboot was like a clean, fresh start. There was
right.
no reference to any of the OGs. Like it was just a cut and dry. Let's move on.
Well, I mean, I don't know though. Now that you bring that up, and that's been such a flop, maybe they will film at the sandwich shop to try to remind people, like, tune in. Remember how great these guys were?
Hmm. Did you watch the Roni finale?
I did. Look, I've given up. I gave up on Roni. I watched season one.
Yeah.
I was like, this is. I loved it. I actually enjoyed season one. I was one of the few.
Wow.
By season two, when we were episode 2 or 3 in, when we're out at Aaron Leachy's in the Hamptons, and they're literally sitting around on a Friday night, twiddling their thumbs, trying to figure out what to do. I thought this is worse. This is like the worst thing. Jenna Lyons reveals nothing. Rebecca Minkoff revealed nothing. So I have given up, but I did tune into that episode to see like everything that's gone down. And of course, I followed everything. Bryn, Lizzie Savetsky coming out today
Oh
now and
yeah, I saw
saying
that.
she's vindicated that Bryn Whitfield, it just paint, put her in a corner, labeled her as a racist,
Yeah.
and that's why she left the show. So I think Bryn is toast. I thought at first she might be back for next season because I think with Roni, because Andy loves New York, they're just going to stick with it regardless of how
Yeah.
much of a failure it is. I think it's
I
like
think I
we're doing
think
it.
they talk about a Ryan Reynolds ego. I think they're going to try very hard to force Roni on us
They
until the
are.
audience signs up for it. But it's like even without, because I see so many people now, and they're all just like fire Bryn, fire Bryn. I'm like, what fucking losers? You weren't watching the show. Don't act like you were actively tuning in week after week, and now you want to have an opinion about the cast. Just my opinion is just scrap the show altogether. Like we don't need to bring it back at all.
Zack, you're a smart man, but there's no way that they are going to do that. There is
I don't think
no
they'll do that. They're gonna,
way.
especially because it's so funny. I don't know. Queens of Bravo tweeted out. They were like, "Oh my God, Roni got." What did they say? Hold on, let me pull up their exact tweet because I was laughing at it so hard because they've been a big proponent of Roni. Oh, they said they shared Bravo ratings. They said
Oh,
that Roni got a season high, and their season high was 500,000 viewers. And so Queens of Bravo said the Roni season finale exploded in the overnight ratings and reached a season high. Get the cameras rolling again. And I was like, imagine saying it exploded in ratings and the explosion was 500,000. Like it still wasn't even a strong, like of all of the episode, like that was their ratings exploding and it scraped the 500 mark.
ugh, ugh. I mean, just the worst television you've laid your eyes on
It was just
until this
so
point.
boring and bad. And like, I don't
Ugh.
even know if this finale was enough to save it because obviously they hyped up this finale so much. But I just think the twist was so dark that like I don't know that that's like saying let's save Real Housewives of Beverly Hills by, really focusing on Russell's suicide. Like let's let that be what saved the show. And that wasn't what saved the show in season 2. Like the show was actually interesting and people were invested in those women's lives. They didn't need that scandal. Like the scandal added a much deeper, darker layer to the show in season 2, but it's not like that was what saved the show.
Okay, but let's not forget, like, rape has come up before. I mean, our girl Candy was
Yeah.
accused of that by cast members who are still on the franchise.
Phaedra, yeah.
I mean, and thriving. So it's like, part of me is like, I think, because look, are we really going to be talking about that in a month with everything that's going on
No.
with Lively? That's everything that's coming down the line with Diddy, with
No.
Luigi. Are we really?
And
So
does
it's like, give it a couple months. Does anyone care about Brynn? I mean, I think
no.
they just bring her back. And I think they're going to keep trying to. We either see the redemption of Brynn next season. Brynn's either
I don't
canned.
I don't think they bring her back because
think she's
the
out?
the rest of the cast members have already distanced themselves from her.
That's
Jenna
true.
Lyons says none of us talked to her. Aaron came out and said we don't talk to her. So, and that's the part of the issue with this cast is they're so hyper aware of the audience and perception and their image that they
I
don't want to associate with Brynn because she's tainted at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That and they at this point are not interested in, pissing off the audience because they're going to do whatever they can to keep the show on the air. So it's a full cast of Sutton and Garcelle's.
No, I agree. I do agree. And when you reference Sutton and Garcelle, you mean because Sutton and Garcelle like don't reveal anything, and
They
they
don't
care what
reveal
people
anything. They
think,
don't bring anything, and
and they care.
they let all of the audience just dictate what they do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I love my girl Sutton too. I actually liked both of them, but this year I am getting to a point of like, okay, ladies, what are we bringing here? What are we going to deliver? Because I mean, Kyle's getting destroyed, but I will say, like, I don't know. To me, Kyle does bring it. Kyle brings it. Our
Yeah,
girl EJ brings it. Poor EJ has no
Dorit, yeah,
choice. Yeah, Dorit will hang out anybody to dry. Like Dorit will be like, let me
Dorit
tell
came
you
to
this.
play.
I love my Dorit.
So, so you don't. So you're predicting that the show should come back, but what do you predict
Oh,
if it does come
I'm
back?
with you. I'm pretty look, I would love to see it. Like I don't watch it. I don't care what they do next season. I can't imagine it would be worth watching. But I don't believe for 1 second that they will ever give up New York. Andy loves New York. I think they see it as a staple, as a marquee. It's like when a restaurant franchise is like failing, but they're going to keep open the original one just for like
Yeah.
nostalgia. So, but I don't know. Are people going to care about this storyline in a month? But the only thing is you are right. If Brynn cannot find an ally, because if you don't have a friend on Housewives, you're out, right? Which is kind of
Yeah.
what happened to Candace Dillard Bassett in Potomac. It was like they all turned on Candace. That was it. Candace didn't have any allies. So she was gone. So unless Brynn can find an olive branch, which doesn't seem like that's happening right now,
Mm-mm.
then maybe she's gone. And I mean, the show is going to keep the same ratings with or without her, which are going to be low. Don't we think?
Yeah, there's nothing even if people want to say the finale was great, there's nothing interesting about this group that makes me want to watch them for another season. And if you remove this scandal, then all we have left from this season is a boring fucking season that I'm like that's just going to give us another boring season with what? Another boring Rebecca Minkoff? Like come on.
And Jenna, like I was so excited to see
Oh
Jenna
my god,
Lyons and
Jenna.
for Jenna to be a boss and to be this like hot lesbian. And it's just, there's another smug, all about designer that most people can never afford, don't care about, promoting her eyelash line. It's just
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, give me a break. We'll never reveal anything about the son or the dynamics
Or her relationship, like literally
or the relation.
nothing. We know
Yeah,
nothing about her other than
please.
her closet, which I'm over at this point.
I'm with you. Couldn't be more with you.
All right. Well, I think oh, the last thing I wanted to talk about was Heidi Montag's new album dropped today. It was a surprise drop. So juicy.
Everybody buy it so they can sue the city of Los Angeles and we can get back to some normalcy here and some good firefighting tactics.
So
So
it's
buy so they can sue.
Or just stream. Oh, yes, because that was the announcement is that they're now suing. Well, yes, let me actually read that headline.
Yeah. They're now suing the fire department in the state of Los Angeles. Yes, baby. Out here in LA, they should have been
As
cutting down
they should.
branches before these big fires. They should have had a reservoir filled with water out in the Palisades. They didn't.
Yep.
Sue them, baby.
Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag sued the city of Los Angeles after losing their home in the Palisades. I was the first to report this, FYI. Not the actual news of them suing, but the news of them announcing that they were going to sue. Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag have filed a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles and the Department of Water and Power after their home was destroyed in the Pacific Palisades fire earlier this month. The lawsuit filed in California Superior. Okay, so they're not suing the state, they're suing the city and LA DWP.
Okay, that's good. Sure.
The lawsuit argues that the devastating fire was an inescapable and unavoidable consequence due to how the city and LADWP allegedly managed the water supply in the area. Pratt's mother, Janet Pratt, I didn't know that was her name, Janet Pratt.
Okay.
Janet Pratt is also listed as one of the plaintiffs, along with a man named William Pratt. Well, obviously, he's part of the family. He's not along with a random man named William Pratt. If he's Pratt with Spencer and Janet Pratt, I'm assuming he's
the dad. He's
the dad or the
Bill
stepdad.
Pratt.
It's not confirmed what his relation is to Spencer. However, he and Janet live in the same home. So, I don't know, kind of sounds like the dad. Because why, if he were to marry Janet, why would he then take on Janet's married name of Pratt? That's weird. Spencer's sister, Stephanie Pratt, confirmed in an emotional January 8th post on her Instagram stories that her parents' home was also destroyed in the Palisades fire just hours after Heidi and Spencer's. The plaintiffs are described as property owners, tenants, and individuals who suffered untold devastation due to the fire, such as damaged homes, fire or insurance coverage shortfalls, mandatory evacuations, medical expenses, business interruptions, and emotional distress. The lawsuit references the Santa Ynez Reservoir in the Palisades, which the filing says has been out of commission since February 2024, awaiting repairs, and claims the LADWP decided to operate the water supply system despite the drained reservoir to save money. The reservoir needs maintenance due to a tear in the floating cover. So it's a tear on the cover. With the Santa Ynez Reservoir effectively out of commission, hydrants in the Pacific Palisades failed after 3 tanks, each holding 1 million gallons of water, went dry within a span of 12 hours, the lawsuit alleges. Since the LA fires broke out on January 7th, reports of water problems have drawn widespread attention. Officials previously acknowledged that there were issues with the water pressure due to what they call tremendous demand on the system in the Palisades in early January. More broadly, however, experts have told people that urban infrastructure is not currently equipped to battle the kinds of firestorms like the one that swept through LA this month, fueled in large part by viciously strong winds. I honestly don't see how anything beyond 5, 10, or 15 times more investment in the water system could have really made a dent in what happened in these fires, says Greg Pierce, who teaches environmental policy at UCLA. Oh, well, I trust him. Let's trust Mr. Climate Change. People are upset now and want answers, Pierce says. I'm sure there's things that could probably increase the resilience of these systems 1 to 3 times. Why is this guy interviewed in this lawsuit if he has not, or interviewed in this article by people if he has nothing to do with the lawsuit? The Pratt's lawsuit takes a different view and points to the previous criticism of the water supply by Gus Corona, the business manager of IBEW Local 18, the employee union for the LADWP. It is completely unacceptable that this reservoir was empty for almost a year for minor repairs, Corona told the Los Angeles Times in an article published on January 10th. The lawsuit notes this work should have been done in-house, and they shouldn't have depended on a contractor to do it. I truly believe it's something that could have been avoided. The LADWP stated the lawsuit alleges that the reservoir was left empty for a year so that they could seek a contractor to fix it instead of using in-house personnel. That's wild. That's what they're claiming, that the reason that they didn't fix this is because they were trying to find a contractor to come and repair it for nearly a year. That's insane. The lawsuit also alleges that the water system was designed for public use, so it didn't have enough water pressure to fight the major fire. It alleges that Mark Pestrella, director of Los Angeles Public Works, stated that the fire hydrant system was not designed to fight wildfires by itself. What the Sarah? You live in California. Literal fuck. Like the two things that we should always be prepared for are fires and earthquakes.
earthquakes.
Thank you. And mudslides
Yeah,
when we get there. But like the top two priorities should always be fires and earthquakes.
I think I think other people are going to sue the city big time because this impacted so many wealthy people. So I'm sure people are gathering how they can best win their lawsuits. Great article in the LA Times by two fire experts, Jack Cohen and Stephen Pine, who live out of state, came here, and they talk about the smugness of the LA Fire Department and local officials. And these two are fire experts who have warned about fires, came here to the Palisades, came here to LA, gave officials, it's a great article. Read it, gave officials the playbook of what they should do, and were really dismissed like, oh, we know what we're doing, and don't, we're this and that. And everything these guys predicted came back to be true. No, they should be sued. They should have the shit suit out of them. And yeah. And people are like, I love your audience. Your audience is amazing. There's some great comments. And then someone wrote, well, okay, guys, they're just suing you all for your taxpayer dollars. If you live in this state and you are so disheartened, like you should see what our taxpayer dollars go to. I'm glad they're so like terrific. Like the city is going to pay out these people because the city was negligent. They should.
Yeah.
No, and hopefully this forces the better use of our taxpayer dollar. It's insanity what we pay here for taxes and what we get. It's
And
crazy.
it was such, I don't know if you feel the same way, but to me, it was such a slap in the face to see Gavin Newsom go out and list these fire facts on his personal campaign website about all the things. Like he's like, our budget was the best and our fire team was not understaffed and all these statistics. And I'm like, hey, guess what, dumbass? Then how did we end up in this situation if we were so prepared? And they're just like, no, climate change caused the fires, and then the wind from climate change just like spread them all over. It spread a whole like 8 different fires 20 miles apart from each other. The winds weren't even that crazy. The winds were crazy on Tuesday, and we can verify that because when we taped
crazy
that day, and the winds were crazy that day.
It was
But come
nuts.
Wednesday and Thursday of like, there were no crazy winds.
Look, I'll just piss off all your audience, but to me, Gavin Newsom is just Donald Trump with a different hairstyle. They're the exact same person. They're completely the same.
I've made that same argument. Yes.
Have you? They're the exact same person. They love to focus on each other. They have this bromance of hate. Gavin is so full of it. He's misrun this state, one of the greatest states. Okay, well, here I go sounding like Trump, like the greatest state in our nation, because you have everything here, the weather, unbelievable talent, unbelievable tech. And this man has managed to fuck up everything along the way. And he's the king of doing an about face. He wanted reparations, then he doesn't. He wanted to release people on crime because of the way they grew up and the misfortunes they had. Now he can't wait to lock them up. Oh, he's so
actual fuck off. Like, I'm so sick and tired of all of this bullshit. Like, we have.
I know. Don't get you wound up.
Even when him and Karen Bass came out and they're like, we do not condone loading. I'm like, take a cactus and shove it up your fucking ass because you made us all shut up about the looting. Like, I read the internet and everybody was like, no, like looting was fine. And we had the $900 threshold and we're not going to, like, I was like, am I crazy? Like, is Blake Lively preaching to us with her gaslighting right now? Because smash and grabs were like a total thing here in California, and like crime was absolutely up. They just reclassified how they report it, so they fudged the statistics to make it seem like it wasn't. But I'm like, no, hello, like it literally feels like insanity to me.
It feels like complete insanity. I do believe Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom's careers are over. I actually love Karen. Like, I think Karen is a good person who loves LA. She seems like the perfect grandmother, but sometimes you just make career mistakes you cannot come back from. And I think, again, like, they cannot apologize. They can't like own it. They can't be in the moment.
That's Karen Bass's biggest downfall. She couldn't just own it. And she couldn't be a leader in a time that Los Angeles needed it.
And here's the thing about Trump, right? Like, I think Trump just now embraces, like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I might change my mind. I might not. We'll see. We'll see. Like, Karen made the declaration. She was not going to leave the state of California. Why would you ever make that declaration? Like, nobody expects her to stay here and not vacation. But
Yeah.
then she left when she the biggest wildfire was coming, and it's like you're gonna die on that cross. And
Yeah.
I think Karen's trying to clean up the homelessness again. Like I am actually very liberal, but like I've become, you know, like I do not understand how we can't bring back mental health institutions. People are exhausted by mental health and addiction on our streets. It's like they
Yeah.
need a place to live in a safe environment, and it's not
Yeah.
right that they're out here, shooting up and then showing us their assholes while I'm trying to walk my 3-year-old kid. And you and
Yeah.
I have to pay
But I'm
30%
yeah.
tax.
But I'm glad that we get to, provide them with their drug kits. Some my
Our
2
audience is
cents.
like, what? Okay, Megan Kelly here, and they're like, what's going on? I know, but it's crazy.
I know this is like the Rubin Report meets Megan Kelly. My 2 cents, y'all, says I'd like to see how you'd handle arson. Hey, ding dong, it's not my fucking job. That's why we
Yeah,
trust these
right. I'm
people
not running
to
for office.
protect us. Yeah, I don't run the city. I don't run the state. Sorry. That's why I made a video that people that there was the video from the fire department where there's this woman, and she's on the fire department team, and she's just like, when someone comes to to put out a fire, you want to make sure they look like you. And I stitched it, and I was like, actually, please do not look like me. I am ill-equipped to fight a fire. Do not fucking look like me. Like, I want you to look like somebody that can take out a fire. I cannot. So I trust you to handle that. I don't need you to look like
Please.
me. I just need you to do your job effectively and efficiently.
I know, for the love of God, right? Please, if I show up at your house as a fire rescue or EMT, you're in major trouble. I mean, I will talk
Yeah.
you to death before I'll know how to get a pick line in you. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
give me a break.
So
Oh my
how would
God.
I put out a fire? I wouldn't. That's not my job. How would I stop arsonists? I wouldn't. But that's why we have people that is their job, you
Yeah.
know? Oh wait, I do have to ask you because this news came out yesterday. What do you think about the JFK, RFK, and MLK files being declassified?
That's a great question. Uh, I think it's been long enough that I don't think it's going to impact national security. I think, and always the best way to squash any conspiracy is to just put it all out there. People they're going to believe what they want to believe anyhow. I'm fine with it as long as my biggest thing is we just have to protect our country first, and so as long as no agent is being compromised, no, but it seems as though again what I've read is they have about 15 days to present a report to President Trump of all this information to declassify it. So
Mhm.
we'll see, right? That's one of Trump's things, right? Is I think he's good at changing his mind and then redirecting. So we'll see if it's fully released because they do have to get the report. And I don't think he wants to compromise
Yeah.
any other
Well, he
key
said that.
things.
He said that he did an
Yeah,
interview where they asked him, "Why didn't you declassify them the last time that you were president?" Which is just it's funny because people forget that like he actually has already been president for 4 years because people are like this is unprecedented times. But I'm like, we did already do this 4, 5 years ago. Or at this point 8 years ago when he first came into office. But I'm torn about it. Part of me is like, yes, I believe in transparency. I believe that the public has a right to know what's happened to these
yeah,
very, important political figures or people that have just been monumental in US history. I believe the public deserves to know. But similar to you, I do think if there's a security threat, then like that's obviously, and he did say while he was campaigning, part of the reason he didn't release the files last time is for that reason, is because he wanted to protect the privacy of people that were still alive that would be, outed in those documents. And
yeah.
then, he's now said that, he thinks enough time has gone by. And I would imagine I would hope he's not trying to out anybody.
No, I think you're right. And when he was president the first time, I think I read 18,000 papers, documents from JFK's assassination were released then. So my
Yeah.
guess is a lot more is going to be released on all three of those files. And then if in fact there are agents that are still alive working on case, I think you'll see that it won't fully be declassified, but we'll get a lot more information, which is good. The public should know. I mean, these happened what, 50 years ago now? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
people
enough time has passed at this point, and I
yes,
do
yes.
believe the American people deserve to know. I saw what was it, that Jack, who's JFK's or
Schlossberger?
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
him,
yeah.
he was coming out and he's like, "This is just a political stunt," and, like, why upend, something about how, like, this is, like, outing JFK, and like it's unfair because JFK can't fight back. And I was like, well, now I'm like, well, what would he be fighting back? And then, like, now I'm curious as to, like, well, what is it? Because there have been, I mean, I don't know, there are a number of theories and allegations. I don't know. Wait till the documents come out before I
That'll be your next, like, deep dive series, right? Let's see what
could you
comes out, and
imagine?
then, we'll look at Zack Peters' Instagram and podcast, and we'll see what Zack's got. Yeah, I mean, you're very captivating to watch. So if this is juicy, we know Zack will be on it.
Oh man, could you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, I love all this stuff.
I do too. I was educating people about gender yesterday.
Oh, we're
Did you know that there are 70 plus genders?
no, I didn't
Too
actually know
many.
this. Is this true?
Yes, I was reviewing it, because I was like, because everyone was like mad. They're like, "Oh, he, like, now only acknowledges 2 genders," and I'm like, "Well, how many fucking genders are there?" And apparently there are like 70 plus genders,
I
which is
had
wild.
no clue.
It's too many genders.
That's a
Um,
lot. Okay, yeah.
oh, Jamie Doe says she wants the Epstein files to come out. I want the Epstein files to come
Oh,
out. I
me
want the Diddy
too.
files to come out. I want all of it.
Those will be a
All
hot
of it.
take. We gotta wait for a lot of those Epstein, people to die, and then we'll get the
Yeah.
whole story,
50
right?
years.
Yeah, 50 years, you'll get the Epstein ones.
All right. Sarah Fraser from the Sarah Fraser Show. Sarah, thank you for coming on the podcast
Love you.
and dishing with me and chatting. This was fun.
What an amazing audience. Yeah, thank you for having me. Oh my god, so many people in the chat. It's great.
So many people in the chat. Thank you guys. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. Be sure to listen, subscribe, review, leave a rating. Go support Sarah's podcast, The Sarah Fraser Show, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, all over the place. So go show it some love, show us some love. We're climbing up on them charts and keeping you informed on all the latest. Like I said, Sarah just had a great interview with Meghan McCain. Megan's going to be coming. Megan and I are doing a crossover, I believe, next month. So
Good. Yeah.
I'm going to try to get her to spill what was in that letter.
Yes. Find out.
Pretty sure I can.
I know you will.
Sarah, thank you. Where can people follow you?
Bye, Zack. At the Sarah Fraser Show, I drop a pop culture pod every single day. It's Sarah Fraser on all platforms. What a great audience. Thank you. You're amazing. I love our new friendship.
Yes, I love it. I know, since we met, what was it, it was a year ago. It was like last February.
Yes, when I love to tell the story.
We met at
Zack
Slash Studios.
was with a friend, and I go, "Oh my god, is this your husband?" Zack was like,
"No,
what?
I was, you guys, I was with Josh. It was Josh, because there was a lot of speculation with Josh, and so it's so funny because Sarah walks up to us and is like, is this your husband?" And I was like, "Oh, this is ugly." I was like, we just bang.
That's how we started our friendship.
But it was good. All right. Thank you guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Talk to you on Monday. Bye, guys.